There are people in your life who smile when they see you, but the moment you leave the room, they poison your peace with negativity, jealousy, manipulation, and darkness you cannot even see. And the painful part is this: sometimes the people destroying your mental peace are not strangers. They are the people you trusted the most, the people you kept giving chances to, the people you kept excusing because of history, emotions, or attachment. And slowly, without realizing it, your heart became heavy. Your mind became exhausted. Your connection with Allah became weaker. Your sleep changed. Your happiness disappeared. Your thoughts became louder. Your soul stopped feeling safe. But listen carefully. Not every person in your life was sent to stay forever. Some people enter your life as a lesson. Some people enter your life as a warning. And some people, Allah removes only after they have already damaged your peace because you refused to walk away when the signs became clear. Today we are going to speak about the people who destroy your mental peace and why sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is leave quietly. My beloved brothers and sisters, there are people who do not attack your body, they attack your peace. And sometimes that damage is even more dangerous because wounds on the body can heal faster than wounds inside the heart and mind. There are people sitting in this world right now with smiles on their faces while internally they are exhausted, emotionally drowning, mentally shattered, and spiritually disconnected, all because they kept allowing the wrong people to stay close to them for too long. You must understand something very powerful. Not every person who enters your life comes with good intentions. Some people come with hidden jealousy. Some come with control. Some come with emotional manipulation. Some come because they enjoy having access to your energy, your attention, your kindness, and your peace while giving nothing healthy back to you in return. And the frightening thing is that toxic people rarely look toxic in the beginning. If evil always looked evil, nobody would fall into its trap. Toxic people often appear caring at first, supportive at first, loving at first, loyal at first, but over time, their presence begins changing the atmosphere of your heart. You begin noticing strange heaviness after speaking to them. Your chest feels tight after every conversation. You keep replaying their words in your mind late at night. Your confidence starts weakening. Your happiness becomes smaller. Your overthinking becomes louder. Even when they are not physically present, mentally they continue occupying your thoughts. And this is how mental peace gets destroyed slowly, not in one moment, but little by little until you no longer recognize the calm version of yourself that once existed. Some people make you feel guilty for protecting your boundaries. The moment you say no, they act hurt. The moment you prioritize your peace, they accuse you of changing. The moment you stop tolerating disrespect, they suddenly behave like the victim. Why? Because toxic people become uncomfortable when they lose emotional control over someone they once manipulated easily. And many good-hearted people suffer because they confuse patience with emotional self-destruction. Listen carefully. Islam teaches mercy, kindness, patience, and forgiveness. But Islam does not teach you to become a prisoner of emotional abuse. Allah did not create you to live every day in anxiety because of another human being. Allah did not create you to constantly walk on emotional eggshells around people who damage your peace. Some people are so draining that after sitting with them for 1 hour, your entire day feels heavy. Your motivation disappears, your focus disappears, your heart becomes restless. There are people who criticize everything about you until you start doubting yourself. People who mock your dreams, people who secretly dislike your growth, people who become silent when Allah blesses you but become energetic when you are struggling. Pay attention to these signs. Not everyone clapping for you is happy for you. Not everyone advising you truly cares for you. Some people smile in front of you while internally hoping you fail because your growth reminds them of their own emptiness. And sometimes Allah allows certain toxic people to remain in your life for a period of time because through them He teaches you painful but necessary lessons. Lessons about boundaries, lessons about self-respect, lessons about emotional intelligence, lessons about dependence on Allah instead of dependence on people. Because many people become emotionally destroyed when humans disappoint them simply because they expected from people what should only be expected from Allah. There are people who only contact you when they need something. People who disappear when you are hurting but suddenly return when they need your energy again. People who know you are emotionally soft-hearted, so they use guilt to keep access to your life. And because you fear losing people, you continue tolerating what is slowly destroying you inside. But one day, something changes. One day you become tired of carrying emotional pain that Allah never asked you to carry. One day you realize protecting your peace is not selfish. One day you understand that constantly explaining yourself to toxic people is exhausting your soul. One day you finally accept that some people only understand distance, not kindness. And this is where healing begins. Healing begins the moment you stop begging toxic people to become healthy people. Healing begins when you stop chasing closure from those who enjoy confusing you. Healing begins when you stop sacrificing your peace just to keep certain people comfortable. And sometimes the strongest thing a believer can do is walk away quietly without hatred, without revenge, without drama, but with complete trust that Allah sees everything hidden inside the hearts of people. Because my beloved brothers and sisters, not every door that closes in your life is a punishment. Sometimes Allah closes doors because He heard conversations you did not hear. He saw intentions you did not see. He protected your future from people you were still emotionally attached to. And one day you will look back at the people who once disturbed your mind so deeply and realize something unbelievable. The peace you were searching for was waiting on the other side of distance. My beloved brothers and sisters, one of the most painful realities a person can experience is discovering that the people they trusted the most were slowly becoming the reason for their emotional exhaustion. There is a special kind of pain that comes when the damage is not caused by enemies, but by people you opened your heart to, people you defended, people you kept forgiving, people you prayed for. And yet, despite your sincerity, despite your patience, despite your kindness, they continued draining your mental peace until even simple moments of happiness started feeling heavy. Many people today are emotionally exhausted, not because life is difficult, but because they are surrounded by people who constantly disturb the tranquility of their hearts. Every day becomes emotional survival. Every conversation becomes emotionally dangerous. They wake up anxious, they sleep overthinking, their minds never rest because toxic people have turned their lives into emotional battlefields. And the frightening thing is this: some people know exactly how to manipulate good-hearted individuals. They study your softness, they study your loyalty, they study your fear of losing people, and then they use your compassion against you. They know you will stay silent to avoid conflict. They know you will forgive quickly. They know you will blame yourself before blaming others. So they continue crossing boundaries because they are confident you will tolerate it again. This is why many kind people suffer deeply, because toxic people are often attracted to emotionally soft hearts. A manipulator loves someone who constantly gives chances. A selfish person loves someone who struggles to say no. A toxic person loves someone who keeps hoping they will eventually change. But listen carefully. Hoping someone changes while they continue destroying your peace can slowly destroy your own soul. You cannot heal in an environment where your heart is constantly under attack. You cannot grow spiritually while surrounded by people who fill your mind with negativity, fear, jealousy, stress, and emotional confusion. Some people are so emotionally draining that after spending enough time around them, even your relationship with Allah begins weakening because your heart becomes consumed by emotional survival instead of spiritual peace. And Allah already warned us about people whose influence damages the heart. Allah says, وَلَا تُطِعْ مَنْ أَغْفَلْنَا قَلْبَهُ عَنْ ذِكْرِنَا وَاتَّبَعَ هَوَاهُ وَكَانَ أَمْرُهُ فُرُطًا. Do not obey the one whose heart we have made heedless of our remembrance, who follows his desires and whose condition is reckless. Look carefully at this verse. Allah is teaching us something powerful. There are people whose hearts become spiritually corrupted because they live only for ego, desire, control, jealousy, pride, and emotional chaos. And if you constantly stay connected to such people without protecting yourself, their darkness slowly begins affecting your own heart too. Human beings are deeply influenced by the company they keep. If you sit around constant negativity, eventually your own thoughts become negative. If you stay around people who constantly gossip, manipulate, insult, and emotionally damage others, your own peace begins disappearing. This is why protecting your environment is not weakness, it is wisdom. Some people feel guilty for distancing themselves from toxic individuals because they think leaving quietly means they are bad people. No. There is a difference between abandoning people out of arrogance and protecting yourself from emotional destruction. Even emotionally, your soul has rights over you. Your mind has rights over you. Your heart has rights over you. You are not obligated to sacrifice your sanity just to prove loyalty to people who continuously harm you. And sometimes the clearest sign that someone is toxic is this: Whenever you try to heal, they become angry. Whenever you become stronger emotionally, they become uncomfortable. Whenever you stop tolerating disrespect, they accuse you of changing. Why? Because unhealthy people often benefit from your emotional weakness. Your confusion gives them control. Your insecurity gives them power. Your constant forgiveness allows their behavior to continue without consequences. There are people who only feel peaceful when you are emotionally dependent on them. The moment you begin healing, they panic because they can feel themselves losing control over your emotions. And this is why some people become cruel when they realize you are no longer easily manipulated. My beloved brothers and sisters, do not ignore the emotional signs Allah keeps showing you. If someone repeatedly destroys your peace, humiliates your emotions, manipulates your kindness, weakens your connection with Allah, fills your life with stress, and leaves your heart disturbed every single time, then understand that distance may not be cruelty, distance may be protection. And sometimes the most mature response is not revenge, not exposing them, not fighting endlessly, not proving yourself, but quietly stepping away and allowing Allah to handle what your exhausted heart no longer can. Because there are moments in life where staying attached to certain people becomes more dangerous than losing them. My beloved brothers and sisters, one of the greatest traps many people fall into is believing they can keep sacrificing their peace to save relationships that Allah is already showing them are unhealthy. They keep ignoring signs, ignoring emotional pain, ignoring sleepless nights, ignoring anxiety, ignoring the heaviness in their chest every single time they interact with certain people. Why? Because attachment can blind a person. Emotional attachment can make someone tolerate disrespect they never imagined they would tolerate. It can make someone defend people who are slowly destroying them from the inside. There are people listening to this right now who are emotionally exhausted, not because of work, not because of money, not because of life itself, but because they are carrying the emotional weight of toxic relationships every single day. Their mind never rests. Their heart never feels safe. They overthink every message, every conversation, every reaction, every silence, every change in tone, because toxic people create emotional instability intentionally. They make you feel loved one day and worthless the next. They make you feel secure one moment and emotionally abandoned the next. They confuse you so much that eventually you stop trusting your own emotions. And this is exactly how mental peace gets destroyed. Not suddenly, slowly, quietly, repeatedly. A toxic person rarely destroys your life in one dramatic moment. Instead, they slowly weaken your confidence until you begin doubting yourself. They slowly normalize disrespect until you stop reacting to it. They slowly drain your emotional energy until even simple happiness starts feeling unfamiliar. And one of the most heartbreaking things is this. Many good-hearted people stay because they keep remembering who the person used to be instead of accepting who they have become. They hold on to old memories while ignoring present pain. They keep saying, they were not always like this. They still have good inside them. Maybe they will change. Maybe if I stay patient longer, things will improve. But my beloved brothers and sisters, patience does not mean allowing continuous emotional destruction while hoping someone eventually becomes healthy. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is accept reality instead of becoming addicted to false hope. Some people only change temporarily when they feel you pulling away. The moment they fear losing access to you, suddenly they become soft, emotional, apologetic, caring and loving again. But once they regain emotional control over you, the same cycle returns, the same manipulation returns, the same emotional chaos returns, the same pain returns. And because your heart is sincere, you keep believing every apology while your mental peace continues collapsing little by little. There are people who know exactly how to emotionally trap soft-hearted individuals. They know when to disappear, they know when to return, they know when to flatter you, they know when to guilt-trip you. They know when to cry, they know when to act wounded, they know when to remind you of history and memories just to stop you from leaving. And many believers remain trapped not because they are weak people, but because they are compassionate people dealing with manipulative individuals. And the sad reality is this. Some people never truly appreciate your loyalty, they only appreciate your tolerance. They become comfortable hurting you because they believe you will never leave. Your constant forgiveness becomes permission for repeated disrespect. Your silence becomes acceptance of behavior that is damaging your soul. Your fear of losing them becomes the weapon they unconsciously use against you. My beloved brothers and sisters, never allow your heart to become so emotionally dependent on people that you lose yourself trying to keep them. Some people are not assigned to stay in your life forever. Not every relationship is meant to survive every season of your life. Sometimes Allah allows certain people to leave because they were blocking your growth, disturbing your peace, weakening your iman, and consuming emotional energy that was supposed to be used for healing and closeness to Allah. And this is where many people struggle deeply, because walking away emotionally can feel like grief. Even toxic attachments hurt when they break because the heart became used to the person's presence, even if that presence was unhealthy. This is why many people return to toxic environments simply because loneliness feels frightening. But listen carefully. Loneliness heals faster than constant emotional destruction. A quiet heart heals faster than a manipulated heart. Distance heals faster than daily emotional chaos. Some people are terrified of leaving toxic people because they fear starting over emotionally, they fear being alone, they fear losing memories, they fear losing attachment. But what they do not realize is that every extra day spent in emotional toxicity delays the healing Allah wants for them. Sometimes your next level of peace begins the moment you finally release the people who were emotionally suffocating you. There are individuals who drain your soul so deeply that after leaving them, you slowly begin recognizing yourself again. Your sleep improves, your smile returns naturally. Your relationship with Allah becomes softer, your chest feels lighter, your thoughts become calmer, your anxiety decreases, your energy changes completely. Why? Because your soul was never designed to constantly survive emotional warfare. And perhaps one of the hardest truths to accept is this: some people know they are hurting you and still continue doing it. Not every person is unaware. Some people see your tears. They see your emotional exhaustion. They see your silence becoming heavier. They see your mental health declining. Yet because your pain benefits their ego, their control, or their emotional comfort, they continue the behavior anyway. This is why protecting your peace is not selfishness. It is survival. It is wisdom. It is emotional responsibility. And sometimes leaving quietly is not weakness at all. Sometimes it is the first moment in years where your soul finally begins breathing again. Because, my beloved brothers and sisters, Allah did not create your heart to be permanently trapped in sadness caused by people who refuse to value it. My beloved brothers and sisters, there comes a moment in life when a person becomes emotionally tired in a way that words cannot fully describe. Not physically tired, not sleepy tired, but soul-level exhaustion. The kind of exhaustion where your smile still appears on your face, but inside your heart feels heavy every single day. The kind of exhaustion where you continue talking to people normally while privately fighting silent emotional battles nobody around you truly understands. And many times, this exhaustion is not caused by life itself. It is caused by continuously carrying people who are draining your peace, damaging your emotions, and weakening your soul little by little. There are people who slowly make you feel emotionally unsafe around them. You begin overthinking before speaking. You become careful with every word. You fear upsetting them. You fear their reactions. You fear their silence. You fear their anger. You fear their emotional withdrawal. And eventually, instead of living peacefully, you begin emotionally surviving around them. This is one of the clearest signs that someone is destroying your mental peace. Healthy people bring calmness into your life. Toxic people bring emotional confusion. Healthy people make you feel respected. Toxic people make you feel emotionally trapped. Healthy people help your heart feel lighter. Toxic people make your chest feel heavy constantly. And the frightening thing is this: when someone damages your peace long enough, you start forgetting what emotional calmness even feels like. Chaos becomes normal. Anxiety becomes normal. Crying becomes normal. Overthinking becomes normal. Emotional pain becomes normal. And because the suffering happens slowly over time, many people do not realize how damaged they have become until they finally distance themselves and suddenly experience peace again. There are people who manipulate others so subtly that even the victim begins blaming themselves. They make you feel guilty for reacting to disrespect. They make you apologize for emotional pain they caused. They twist situations until you begin questioning your own memory, your own emotions, your own reality. And this is why toxic environments are so spiritually and emotionally dangerous. They slowly disconnect you from your inner stability. Some people only feel powerful when they can control your emotions. If you are calm, they disturb your peace. If you are happy, they create negativity. If you are healing, they reopen old wounds. If you are confident, they criticize you until insecurity returns. Why? Because insecure people often become uncomfortable around emotionally healthy individuals. Your healing reminds them of everything broken inside themselves. And many believers remain trapped because they confuse attachment with love. Listen carefully. Not every attachment is love. Sometimes attachment is fear. Sometimes attachment is loneliness. Sometimes attachment is emotional dependency. Sometimes attachment is trauma disguised as connection. Real love does not constantly destroy your mental health. Real love does not repeatedly humiliate your emotions. Real love does not make you fear being yourself. Real love does not leave your heart in permanent anxiety. There are people who claim to care about you while constantly damaging your emotional well-being, and because they occasionally show kindness, you continue excusing the harm. But my beloved brothers and sisters, occasional kindness does not erase consistent emotional damage. A person cannot continuously poison your peace and then expect small moments of affection to repair everything. Some people apologize beautifully but never change. Some people cry beautifully but never change. Some people promise beautifully but never change. And many good-hearted people become trapped in endless cycles because they keep falling in love with potential instead of reality. They keep waiting for a future version of someone who may never truly exist. You must understand something deeply important. Your heart is an amana from Allah. Your mental peace is valuable. Your emotional health matters. Many people spend years trying to heal spiritually while remaining connected to people who continuously reopen emotional wounds. They ask Allah for peace while refusing to leave the environments destroying their peace. Sometimes the answer to your prayer requires distance. Sometimes the healing you are begging Allah for begins with separation from toxic influences. Sometimes the reason your chest feels constantly heavy is because your soul is carrying relationships it was never meant to carry forever. And one of the hardest realities is this: toxic people often become angriest when you finally choose peace over attachment. The moment you begin emotionally detaching, suddenly they accuse you of changing. Suddenly they say you became cold. Suddenly they act wounded. But where was this concern when your mental peace was collapsing? Where was this care when your heart was silently breaking every night? Where was this compassion when you were emotionally exhausted trying to hold everything together alone? This is why not every accusation deserves your guilt. Sometimes people become upset simply because they lost access to controlling you emotionally. My beloved brothers and sisters, there are people who will keep taking from your heart until nothing remains if you never establish boundaries. They will take your energy, your focus, your happiness, your emotional stability, your confidence, and even your connection with Allah if you allow unlimited access to your soul. This is why protecting your peace is not selfishness, it is necessary wisdom. And understand this clearly. Walking away quietly does not mean hatred, it does not mean revenge, it does not mean you became heartless. Sometimes walking away quietly is the most mature response possible. No drama, no humiliation, no endless arguments, no exposing people publicly, just peaceful distance and trust that Allah sees everything hidden inside hearts. Because some battles are not won through confrontation. Some battles are won through separation. There are moments where silence protects your soul more than explanations ever will. And perhaps one of the saddest things in life is realizing you kept destroying yourself emotionally, trying to save relationships that Allah was already showing you were unhealthy. But once you finally accept reality, once you finally choose peace, once you finally stop begging toxic people to become healthy people, something beautiful begins happening inside you. Your mind slowly becomes quieter. Your heart slowly becomes softer. Your relationship with Allah slowly becomes stronger. Your sleep slowly returns. Your smile slowly becomes genuine again. And for the first time in a very long time, your soul finally feels safe. My beloved brothers and sisters, one of the most dangerous things about toxic people is that they rarely destroy you immediately. If someone openly came into your life with darkness written on their forehead, nobody would stay close to them. Nobody would trust them. Nobody would open their heart to them. But the reality is very different. Toxic people often enter gently, calmly, comfortably. They slowly earn emotional access to your life until one day you realize they have become deeply connected to your thoughts, your emotions, your routines, your happiness, and even your sense of identity. And this is why leaving becomes so painful. Because by the time you finally understand the damage they are causing, your heart has already become attached. Many people remain in emotionally harmful relationships because they are addicted to memories. They remember the early kindness, the early attention, the moments that felt beautiful, the promises that sounded sincere, the emotional closeness that once made them feel special. And because those memories still live inside the heart, they keep hoping the person will return to who they used to be. But my beloved brothers and sisters, sometimes the beginning was not the real person. Sometimes the beginning was simply the version needed to gain your trust. And this is why many emotionally exhausted people stay trapped for years. They keep chasing the old version of someone who no longer exists, while continuously getting hurt by the version standing in front of them today. There are people who slowly train you to accept emotional pain as normal. At first, the disrespect shocks you. Then after enough repetition, you stop reacting. At first, the manipulation hurts deeply. Then eventually you become numb. At first, the emotional neglect breaks your heart. Then one day you silently expect disappointment because your soul has become used to being emotionally abandoned. This is how mental peace gets destroyed over time. Not only through pain, but through normalization of pain. Some people normalize anxiety in your life. Some normalize fear. Some normalize emotional instability. Some normalize confusion. Some normalize sadness. Some normalize emotional exhaustion. And eventually you become so used to surviving emotional chaos that peaceful environments start feeling unfamiliar to you. There are believers today who no longer know what genuine emotional safety feels like because they have spent years around people who constantly disturb their peace. They wake up emotionally tense. Their mind races constantly. They replay conversations repeatedly. They fear upsetting certain people. They fear rejection. They fear emotional withdrawal. They fear being ignored. They fear losing attachment even when the attachment itself is destroying them. And perhaps one of the most heartbreaking realities is this. Many good-hearted people keep sacrificing themselves, hoping their love will heal toxic individuals. But listen carefully. You cannot heal people who enjoy hurting others emotionally. You cannot save someone who refuses accountability. You cannot carry people who continuously destroy the very soul trying to help them. And many believers slowly collapse emotionally because they spend years trying to rescue people who are completely comfortable damaging them. Some toxic individuals know exactly what they are doing. They know how to emotionally confuse you just enough to keep you attached. They know when to become distant. They know when to suddenly become affectionate again. They know when to apologize. They know when to cry. They know when to blame their past, their stress, their pain, or their struggles in order to avoid taking responsibility for the damage they continue causing. And because your heart is compassionate, you keep understanding them while nobody is understanding you. You keep carrying everyone emotionally while silently drowning yourself. You become the listener, the forgiver, the peacemaker, the emotionally available person for everyone else, while privately your own heart becomes emptier and emptier each day. And this is why some of the kindest souls become the most emotionally exhausted souls. Because they keep pouring from hearts that are no longer being refilled. My beloved brothers and sisters, Allah did not create your heart to be permanently available for emotional destruction. Your compassion is beautiful, but without wisdom it can become dangerous. Your kindness is noble, but without boundaries it can attract people who consume you emotionally without appreciating you. Some people only remain close to you because your softness benefits them. Your loyalty benefits them. Your forgiveness benefits them. Your emotional availability benefits them. But the moment you become emotionally stronger, they begin changing. Why? Because unhealthy people often prefer emotionally weak versions of you. Your weakness makes you easier to control. Your insecurity makes you easier to manipulate. Your fear of losing them makes you tolerate behavior that should never have been tolerated. And one of the clearest signs someone is damaging your mental peace is this. Your entire emotional state begins depending on their behavior. If they respond warmly, you feel relief. If they become cold, your heart collapses. If they ignore you, your entire mood changes. If they criticize you, your confidence disappears. This is emotional imprisonment. Your peace should not be chained to unstable people. Your happiness should not depend on unpredictable behavior. Your emotional stability should not live in the hands of people who repeatedly hurt you. And many times Allah allows your heart to become exhausted so you finally understand a lesson you were refusing to accept, because some people only wake up after emotional pain becomes unbearable. Only then do they realize they have been abandoning themselves trying to keep toxic people comfortable. There are individuals who drain you so deeply that after leaving them, your entire life begins changing. Your thoughts become clearer, your breathing feels lighter, your worship improves. Your motivation returns, your anxiety decreases, your mind becomes calmer, your connection with Allah becomes stronger, because your soul is no longer constantly fighting emotional battles every day. This is why distancing yourself from toxic people can sometimes become an act of worship, because protecting your heart from continuous harm allows you to heal spiritually too. And understand this carefully. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to your heart. Some people must be loved from a distance. Some people must be respected from a distance. Some people must be forgiven from a distance, because closeness to them destroys the peace Allah wants for you. Many believers fear walking away because they think leaving quietly means they fail. No, sometimes leaving quietly means you finally chose wisdom over emotional addiction. Sometimes leaving quietly means you finally accepted reality instead of chasing illusions. Sometimes leaving quietly means your soul finally became tired of bleeding silently. And perhaps one of the hardest moments in life is realizing the person you kept trying to protect emotionally was the very person destroying your mental peace all along. But my beloved brothers and sisters, never forget this beautiful reality. Allah can replace emotional chaos with peace. Allah can replace confusion with clarity. Allah can replace emotional heaviness with tranquility. Allah can heal hearts that people nearly destroyed. But healing often begins the moment you stop reopening the same wounds by remaining attached to the same toxic people. And one day, after enough distance, after enough healing, after enough quiet nights rebuilding your relationship with Allah, you will look back at the people who once controlled your emotions so deeply and wonder something unbelievable. How did I stay in that pain for so long? Because when Allah finally frees your heart from emotional toxicity, the peace that enters your soul feels like breathing again after years of drowning silently. My beloved brothers and sisters, there are some people whose presence in your life feels normal at first, until one day you realize they have slowly become the source of your sadness, your anxiety, your emotional instability, and your exhaustion. You begin noticing that your mind never truly rests anymore. Even when you are alone, your thoughts remain trapped around their behavior, their reactions, their words, their silence, their approval, their anger, and their emotional control over you. And this is one of the most painful forms of emotional suffering because it happens invisibly. People around you may see your smile, but inside your chest there is constant tension, constant heaviness, constant emotional fatigue. There are individuals who slowly turn your life into emotional survival. You stop feeling free around them. You stop feeling emotionally safe. You stop feeling relaxed. Every interaction becomes mentally exhausting because deep inside your heart already knows this person is harming your peace, yet your attachment keeps convincing you to stay. And perhaps this is one of the greatest battles many believers face, the battle between what the heart feels attached to and what the soul knows is unhealthy. Because attachment is powerful. Attachment can make a person ignore disrespect. Attachment can make a person normalize manipulation. Attachment can make a person tolerate emotional abuse. Attachment can make someone remain loyal to people who continuously destroy them internally. And the longer the attachment continues, the more difficult it becomes to leave, because eventually your emotions become tangled with the person completely. Your happiness depends on them. Your mood depends on them. Your peace depends on them. Your self-worth depends on them. And this is extremely dangerous because human beings were never meant to hold that level of control over your emotional state. Only Allah should occupy the center of your heart completely. But many people unknowingly place humans where only Allah belongs emotionally. They become dependent on attention, validation, closeness, and emotional reassurance from people who are themselves unstable, wounded, selfish, manipulative, or spiritually empty. And because humans are imperfect, eventually disappointment becomes unavoidable. There are toxic people who know exactly how to keep you emotionally attached while still hurting you repeatedly. They become distant just enough to make you chase them. They become kind just enough to keep your hope alive. They apologize just enough to stop you from leaving. They confuse you just enough to keep you emotionally trapped. And many good-hearted people spend years trapped in these emotional cycles because they keep waiting for consistency from people who only offer temporary moments of goodness surrounded by continuous emotional damage. Some people know they are hurting you. Never forget this. Not everyone is unaware. There are individuals who see your tears, see your anxiety, see your exhaustion, see your emotional breakdowns, and still continue behaving in ways that destroy your peace because deep inside they are addicted to control, attention, ego, or emotional power. They feel important when they can influence your emotions. They feel secure when you keep chasing their approval. They feel validated when your mood revolves around them. And this is why emotionally manipulative people often become uncomfortable when you start healing. The healthier you become, the less control they have. The calmer you become, the weaker their influence becomes. The closer you become to Allah, the less emotionally dependent you become on them. And suddenly, once you begin emotionally detaching, they panic, they accuse you of changing, they accuse you of becoming cold, they accuse you of abandoning them. But my beloved brothers and sisters, where was their concern when your heart was silently collapsing every night? Where was their compassion when your mental peace was disappearing slowly? Where was their kindness when your soul was exhausted from carrying emotional burdens alone? This is why you must learn a painful but necessary truth. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to your heart. Some people are blessings. Some people are lessons. Some people are warnings. And some people become emotional storms that Allah eventually wants you to walk away from. There are believers today whose entire personality changed because of toxic people. Once they were joyful, once they were hopeful, once they trusted easily, once they smiled naturally, once they loved sincerely without fear. But after enough betrayal, enough manipulation, enough emotional damage, they became anxious, guarded, emotionally exhausted, and mentally drained. And perhaps the saddest part is that many of them still blame themselves for becoming this way. They think, maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I expect too much. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm the problem. No, my beloved brothers and sisters, sometimes your sadness is not because you are weak. Sometimes your sadness is because you stayed too long in environments that were damaging your soul. Even a strong heart gets tired when constantly wounded. Even a kind soul becomes exhausted when continuously unappreciated. Even a patient believer reaches a point where emotional survival becomes unbearable. And one of the most dangerous things toxic people do is slowly disconnect you from yourself. You stop recognizing your own behavior. You become emotionally reactive. You lose inner calmness. You overthink constantly. You become insecure in ways you never were before. You become emotionally dependent in unhealthy ways. And because the damage happens slowly over time, you do not realize how deeply your peace has been affected until distance finally allows you to breathe again. This is why many people experience shocking clarity after leaving toxic relationships or toxic friendships. Suddenly they realize how heavy their life had become. Suddenly they realize how much anxiety they were carrying every day. Suddenly they realize how much emotional energy was being drained from them constantly. And perhaps one of the biggest signs Allah is protecting you is when He creates distance between you and certain people, even when your heart initially resists it. Sometimes unanswered messages are protection. Sometimes separation is protection. Sometimes exposure is protection. Sometimes heartbreak is protection. Sometimes losing certain people is actually Allah saving your future. But emotionally attached hearts struggle to accept this reality because they focus on the pain of losing people instead of recognizing the peace that comes afterward. My beloved brothers and sisters, never become so desperate for companionship that you accept emotional destruction as the price of connection. Loneliness may hurt temporarily, but continuous emotional toxicity destroys people slowly from the inside. A quiet life with peace is far better than a crowded life filled with emotional chaos. Some people are addicted to drama, addicted to conflict, addicted to emotional instability. They carry darkness into every environment they enter because internally they themselves have no peace. And if you keep staying close to such individuals without protecting your heart, eventually their chaos becomes your chaos too. This is why righteous company is such a blessing. Healthy people bring calmness into your life. They make your heart feel lighter. They bring you closer to Allah. They encourage healing. They respect boundaries. They value your emotions. They do not manipulate your kindness. They do not punish you emotionally for protecting your peace. And once you finally experience emotionally healthy relationships, you begin realizing how much suffering you previously normalized. You realize love was never supposed to feel like constant fear. You realize friendship was never supposed to feel emotionally draining. You realize connection was never supposed to destroy your mental health. And perhaps one of the greatest acts of self-respect is learning to quietly leave environments where your soul continuously suffers. Not every goodbye requires anger. Not every separation requires revenge. Not every departure requires explanation. Sometimes silence is enough. Sometimes walking away peacefully is the loudest form of wisdom. Because my beloved brothers and sisters, some people will continue destroying your peace for as long as you keep giving them access to your heart. And one of the greatest moments of healing comes when you finally understand this powerful truth. You are not responsible for saving people who are comfortable destroying you. My beloved brothers and sisters, there comes a moment in life when Allah allows a person to reach complete emotional exhaustion for a reason far greater than they realize. A moment where the heart becomes tired of chasing people, tired of explaining itself, tired of begging for basic respect, tired of surviving emotional chaos every single day. Tired of carrying relationships that only bring sadness, confusion, anxiety, and heaviness into the soul. And many times that breaking point is not the end of a believer. It is the beginning of Allah rescuing them from people who were slowly destroying them from within. Some of you listening to this have spent years trying to keep certain people happy while your own mental peace disappeared completely. You gave chances nobody else would give. You forgave repeatedly. You stayed loyal through disrespect. You remained patient through emotional pain. You ignored warning signs because your heart was emotionally attached. You kept hoping things would improve. You kept believing your kindness would eventually soften their behavior, but instead of healing, your soul became more exhausted every year. And the painful reality is this: many good-hearted believers slowly abandon themselves while trying to save toxic relationships. They stop protecting their emotions. They stop valuing their peace. They stop listening to the heaviness in their chest. They stop recognizing how damaged they have become emotionally. And because the suffering happens gradually, they begin accepting emotional pain as a normal part of life. But my beloved brothers and sisters, Allah did not create your heart to live in constant emotional suffering caused by people who refuse to value you. Allah did not create you to wake up every day carrying anxiety because of another human being. Allah did not create you to spend your nights crying over people who repeatedly break your spirit and disturb your peace. There are people who slowly consume your emotional energy until you no longer recognize yourself. Once you were calm, once you were emotionally stable, once you trusted people easily, once you smiled naturally, once your relationship with Allah felt softer. But after enough manipulation, enough betrayal, enough emotional exhaustion, you became mentally drained in ways nobody around you fully understands. And perhaps one of the saddest things is this: toxic people often destroy kind people slowly, because kind people keep giving them access long after the damage becomes obvious. A soft heart keeps hoping. A loyal heart keeps waiting. A compassionate heart keeps forgiving. And because of this, many believers remain emotionally trapped in painful cycles for years longer than necessary. Some toxic individuals become deeply attached to controlling your emotions. They want your attention constantly. They want your energy constantly. They want your emotional focus constantly. They become upset when your world no longer revolves around them, because unhealthy people often confuse emotional control with love. And this is why some people become angry when you finally begin healing. The healthier you become, the more distant you become emotionally from manipulation. The closer you become to Allah, the less desperate you become for human validation. The more inner peace you develop, the harder it becomes for toxic people to emotionally control you. And suddenly, the same people who once ignored your pain begin accusing you of changing simply because you finally stopped allowing your heart to be mistreated. My beloved brothers and sisters, never feel guilty for protecting the peace Allah wants for your life. Some people will call your boundaries arrogance because they benefited from your lack of boundaries before. Some people will call your silence coldness because they were comfortable with your emotional availability. Some people will call your distance cruelty because your closeness gave them emotional control. But understand this carefully. Choosing peace is not cruelty. Choosing peace is wisdom. Choosing peace is emotional maturity. Choosing peace is sometimes necessary for spiritual survival. There are believers today whose connection with Allah became stronger only after they walked away from toxic environments. Because when your mind is constantly overwhelmed by emotional stress, your soul struggles to rest in worship. Your prayers become heavy. Your heart becomes distracted. Your thoughts become consumed by pain instead of remembrance of Allah. Toxic people do not only damage mental peace. Sometimes they damage spiritual peace too. There are individuals who constantly pull you into gossip, negativity, jealousy, drama, emotional instability, suspicion, and unhealthy attachment until your soul feels spiritually suffocated. And the longer you remain trapped in such environments, the harder it becomes to hear the calmness your heart desperately needs. This is why sometimes Allah separates people not to punish them but to save them. Some separations are mercy. Some heartbreaks are protection. Some endings are answers to prayers you cried about for years. But because humans become emotionally attached to what hurts them, they resist the very distance that would heal them. And perhaps this is one of the greatest emotional tragedies, becoming so afraid of losing people that you lose yourself completely in the process. There are people who stayed so long in toxic environments that they forgot who they truly were. They became emotionally reactive, anxious, insecure, exhausted, and mentally overwhelmed. They lost their confidence, they lost their calmness, they lost their inner peace. They lost the joyful version of themselves Allah originally created because they kept allowing emotionally unhealthy people unlimited access to their hearts. And one day, after enough suffering, Allah opens their eyes. Suddenly they realize, I have been carrying pain that was never meant to stay this long. Suddenly they realize, I kept trying to heal people who were destroying me. Suddenly they realize, I was begging for love from people who only valued control. And this realization hurts deeply because healing often begins with painful honesty. Honesty about who hurt you. Honesty about what you tolerated. Honesty about how much damage certain people caused to your soul. But my beloved brothers and sisters, never lose hope after these realizations because Allah specializes in healing broken hearts. Allah can restore peace to a mind destroyed by years of emotional exhaustion. Allah can heal a heart wounded by betrayal, manipulation, rejection, and emotional pain. Allah can replace chaos with tranquility in ways you never imagined possible. But healing requires courage. Courage to accept reality. Courage to stop romanticizing toxic people. Courage to stop reopening wounds through unhealthy attachment. Courage to walk away quietly when your soul already knows staying is destroying you. And understand something deeply important. Walking away quietly is not weakness. Sometimes it is the strongest thing a believer can do. Not screaming, not exposing, not humiliating, not seeking revenge. Just silently choosing peace and trusting Allah with the pain people caused you. Because revenge does not heal the heart. Peace heals the heart. Closeness to Allah heals the heart. Distance from toxic environments heals the heart. And one of the most beautiful moments in life is when Allah finally removes emotional heaviness from your chest after years of suffering. Suddenly your thoughts become calmer, your sleep becomes peaceful. Your worship becomes sincere again. Your smile becomes genuine again. Your chest feels lighter. Your anxiety weakens. Your soul begins breathing normally again. And then you finally understand something powerful. The people you were terrified of losing were actually the people destroying your peace all along. My beloved brothers and sisters, never underestimate the value of inner peace. Money cannot buy it. Status cannot buy it. Attention cannot buy it. The world is filled with people who have everything externally, but internally they are emotionally shattered because they allowed toxic people to remain too close for too long. Protect your peace. Protect your heart. Protect your connection with Allah. And if certain people repeatedly destroy your mental peace despite your patience, your kindness, your forgiveness, and your efforts, then perhaps the answer is no longer more suffering. Perhaps the answer is quiet distance. Because sometimes Allah does not remove toxic people immediately from your life, because He first wants to teach you the painful but life-changing lesson of finally choosing your peace before your attachment. And my beloved brothers and sisters, before this video ends, I want you to remember something very important deep inside your heart. Not every person who walked away from your life was a loss. And not every person you lost was good for your soul. Some people were removed because your peace mattered to Allah. Some people were exposed because your heart deserved protection. Some people became distant because Allah saw the emotional damage they were causing long before you fully understood it yourself. Do not cry forever over people who constantly disturbed your peace. Do not destroy yourself trying to keep people who continuously destroyed your heart. And do not feel guilty for choosing silence, distance, and healing after years of emotional exhaustion. Sometimes the strongest thing a believer can do is quietly leave what is hurting them and trust Allah with the rest. No revenge, no hatred, no endless explaining. Just peace, just healing, just closeness to Allah. Because at the end of the day, this world is temporary. People change, hearts change, relationships change. But Allah never changes. Allah sees every silent tear you cried because of people. Allah heard every painful conversation. Allah knows every night your chest felt heavy. Allah knows every moment you smiled publicly while suffering privately. And perhaps the pain you went through was never meant to destroy you. Perhaps it was meant to wake you up, to teach you that your worth does not come from human approval, to teach you that your peace is valuable, to teach you that not everyone deserves unlimited access to your heart. And most importantly, to bring you back closer to Allah after depending too much on people. One day, insha'Allah, you will look back at the people who once caused you so much emotional pain and realize something unbelievable. Allah was saving you through the distance. And the peace you were desperately searching for in people was always waiting for you near Allah.